In a major Miami Heat free agency update, a former Heat player is returning to Miami, according to multiple reports that have revealed that the Heat are bringing back a guy who they once drafted to this team to add some more depth at a position that is very thin right now. Meanwhile, we are also seeing that the Heat plan to cut ties with one of their longer-standing players who they did give a good contract to or a good trade deal for once upon a time, and we are going to break all this down. There's a lot to go over with the Miami Heat right now, as there is a signing imminent, while also a move that will be getting rid of one of their players that would come right before or right after, depending on some contract situations. We're going to jump right into all that, guys, but before we do that, if you're part of that 80% that's not subscribed to Heat Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily Miami Heat updates. I know we have not been daily recently and that we've taken some time off. September, is a tough month for some basketball content, specifically the earlier part of September. But now things are starting to ramp up, so you can expect some more videos out of Heat Digest. But for now, let's break down the new news on the Miami Heat. As a former player, looks to be returning to the Miami Heat in a huge free agency update that we have seen today. Once upon a time, the Heat drafted a very underrated player who there was a lot of talk about, but soon got traded to the Toronto Raptors in a Kyle Lowry deal, and that is none other than the man we are seeing right here in Precious Achiuwa, as we have a huge Achiuwa free agency update as pertains to the Miami Heat. As mentioned by Ira Winderman, as often as has been the case, the Miami Heat are looking to their past as a potential answer for the current question. In this case, the Heat have been in ongoing discussions with Precious Achiuwa, the team's 2020 first-round pick, about a possible spot in the team's power rotation, which is particularly limited at center. Now, Achiuwa last season put up 6.6 points and 5.6 rebounds with the Knicks in 20 minutes per action that were very unstable minutes based off the Knicks' depth and Tom Thibodeau's affinity to not playing anyone off the bench at all. Achiuwa got an assist per game, also got nearly a block and a steal as well in these limited minutes, shooting 50% from the field and 28% from three. He plays bigger than his size, is a solid defender, and does a lot right, and the Heat do see a situation where they could use Precious Achiuwa in a similar role to the way that they used Bam Adebayo. That was initially the goal when they brought in Achiuwa. However, they ended up moving him to the Toronto Raptors in that deal that brought Miami Kyle Lowry, which does make sense. And actually, that Kyle Lowry trade is going to come back up later in this video as well. Now, as mentioned by Winderman, the Heat rotation at center at the moment features Kel'el Ware, Bam Adebayo, and Vlad Golden. Adebayo has stressed it as a desire to not be cast at the position, while Golden remains a developmental project, with his two-way contract limiting him to 50 games on the active roster during the regular season. Achiuwa, listed at 6'8" and 243 pounds by the NBA, has filled in at center at times last season for the Knicks in the injury absence of Mitchell Robinson, with his playing time evaporating in the wake of Robinson's return for New York's run to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, with this in mind, it's very clear the Miami Heat are looking towards Precious Achiuwa to be a huge help. And Achiuwa was good with the Knicks as a starter. In 28 games he started for the Knicks in his career. A lot of those came after Julius Randle went down in the 2024 NBA season. Achiuwa put up 12.6 points per game, 9.3 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks in 28 appearances as a starter. He showed a willingness to shoot the mid-range shot that he could hit well. He cut to the basket well. He pulled down a lot of rebounds, and he played ferociously with excellent defense for the Knicks. Now, obviously, when we consider that Eric Spoelstra also runs a defensive-first style like Tom Thibodeau did with Achiuwa, it would make sense that Achiuwa would fit in very well with Miami, especially understanding his role and knowing that he would have to play bigger than his size, something that he's used to doing. When we look at the Heat right now, there is a clear lack of big men here. Bam doesn't love playing the center position by any means, and having Kel'el Ware there is huge because you can put Kel'el Ware there as well and sort of have them as a dual big setup right there. However, then after that, there's really no big man depth to the point where Nikola Jovic would be playing somewhat out of position at the 5, and putting Achiuwa in there, he's definitely a bit undersized and at times has looked better as a power forward. But when it comes down to it, Achiuwa would add another big man onto that roster who would really, really help with depth purposes, especially if you consider any injuries happening, and also Vlad Golden still being very raw. The Heat need more big man depth. It's not an argument. We all know they do. It's no secret. And as long as they can get some in any means possible, I mean, Achiuwa is one of the best options out there to add another center to this team. He's very athletic, can move in transition, and is a better defender than a guy like Thomas Bryant, who's also a free agent, who was on the Heat at the start of last year before the Heat eventually would trade him off to the Indiana Pacers. Now, Golden's an interesting option because how good he looked at college over his time. I mean, the man really, really did well in his final season in college, putting up 16.6 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. He shot 60% from the field and 33% from 3, had a PER of 25.7, and is 7'1". He's a true big man in every sense of the word, and can play that center position mainly, but also does have an ability to kind of stretch out that 4 spot just based off his ability to shoot the ball, which is important to note as well going forwards. And I mean, we also recently saw some news that Precious Achiuwa just bought a stylish home in South Beach's tallest tower, as mentioned by the New York Post. Achiuwa did buy a house down in South Beach, showing an interest in living in the area already, meaning that it would not be surprising at all for him to have known when he bought this house that the Heat did have a lot of interest in him. And if he does do that, if he does decide to live there full time, it makes sense why he would want to go play for the Heat. It makes all the sense in the world. And honestly, I do sort of expect Precious Achiuwa to sign with the Heat. That's kind of been my prediction all season or all off season long with Achiuwa specifically, is that he would end up signing back in Miami. It just kind of felt like a marriage that was too easily perfect for each side. The Heat can try to get out of Achiuwa what there always feels to be that bit of spark, but being with the Knicks and getting inconsistent minutes and being with the Raptors and getting inconsistent minutes didn't fully do it. He would get consistent playing time in Miami, and Eric Spoelstra would be able to work with Achiuwa to really be able to get every ounce of great basketball out of him, and I think this is an absolutely perfect fit and a perfect situation for each side. Now, Winderman also mentioned that while the Heat have expressed faith in power rotation, in a power rotation that also could include Nikola Jovic and Keshad Johnson, they also have been in contact with possible additions. Another former Heat center, Thomas Bryant, also remains unsigned. A free agent after finishing last season with the Indiana Pacers, although the Heat have had an open spot on their standard roster, which is capped at 15 during the regular season. They currently lack room under the punitive NBA luxury tax to add a player at even the veteran minimum spot, which leads to the next topic that we are going to discuss, and that is the future or lack thereof with Terry Rozier and the Miami Heat. It's almost a certainty that we're going to see Terry Rozier leave the Miami Heat and not play for them next season. It's very obvious what's happening here. The Heat and Rozier are going in different directions. Rozier did not have a good season last year, and now that's being capped off. An opportunity for the Heat to move on from Terry Rozier and that big contract that causes a lot of stress on the Miami Heat, because we look at that deal, he's making $28 million per year. Yeah, $26 million per year. I was making sure it didn't say 28. But making over $26 million per year, he's really causing a lot of trouble. Now, the Heat have a few options here, whether it's a buyout and Terry sacrifices a little bit of that money to do the buyout so that he can move further away from the luxury tax, or waiving him, stretching him out over 2 or 3 years as well is another option. The Heat could try to trade Terry Rozier, and they definitely have been trying to, but it is pretty difficult considering that Rozier is not someone who a lot of teams have interest in, and no teams really have the money to do that outside of the Brooklyn Nets, who would still have to give back around $14 million in that situation. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of a $14 million player even on the Brooklyn Nets to begin with. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all, if you ask me. Now, in regards to Rozier, the new news update from Winderman has been that that has had the team currently investigating possible options with the contract of veteran guard Terry Rozier, who struggled last season. Falling out of the rotation, Rozier is under contract for the coming season at $26.6 million. Of which $24.9 million is guaranteed. Should the Heat waive Rozier, then they would have the space needed under the luxury tax to add a replacement player at the veteran minimum. The Heat could also open such tax space for another player by merely waiving Rozier by the NBA contract guarantee deadline of January 10th, when all contracts become guaranteed. However, if the Heat were to take such a wait-and-see approach with Rozier and the veteran guard were to be injured and sidelined this season, his full $26.6 million would be guaranteed. There have been discussions about a Rozier buyout, but those talks have not gained traction. Without any outside options for the veteran guard at the moment, as Rozier remains linked to a federal gambling investigation, he's impossible to move, so waiving him does cut some money, but the Heat would like to cut more money so they can add 2 players to the team instead of just the 1, which does make a ton of sense. Rozier did not have a good season last year whatsoever. His numbers severely dropped from what he was just a couple of years ago in Charlotte when he was putting up around 23 points per game. Rozier put up 10.6 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. His defense fell off a cliff. He only shot 39% from the field and 29% from 3, including 27% on corner threes. Just not a good year from Terry Rozier at all, and I do think he has the ability to bounce back if he gets over this gambling investigation, but there's questions with that as well. I really don't think Terry Rozier's NBA career is done, but I do think his career with the Heat is done, and we are going to see what happens with Terry Rozier. Obviously, the gambling situation does play a factor in this as well. But guys, what do you want to see happen with all this? Do you want to see Precious Achiuwa come in and Terry Rozier go out? I think it makes a lot of sense for this team. The Heat need another big man. Achiuwa is a good fit personally. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I will catch you later.